If you or someone you know is in a crisis, dial 988. Staffers are there, ready to listen and help you get back on track. For more information on the disclaimer, go to www.sunnylarue17.com.
Welcome back to the Professional Martini Drinking Bloggers Podcast. I am your host, Sunny LaRue. I have a special guest with me, Miss Diamond Pearl Leah. Say hi. In all her glory and her fierce. Today is episode 53, titled Rest in Peace, Green Ranger. Okay, guys, let's just dive right into this. News outlets are reporting the death of actor Jason David Frank. Frank, a mixed martial artist, is best known for playing the Green and White Ranger on the 1990s kids show, The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Now, according to TMZ, Frank died Sunday in Texas by taking his own life. Jason David Frank was 49 and he is survived by his 4 kids.
If you are a crafter as I am in the market for a hot glue gun that is reliable, Bleed's cordless hot glue gun is for you. The upgraded anti-drip design offers less webs and fits comfortably in the hand. Bleed's hot glue gun has a long battery life lasting 2 to 3 hours on one charge. It's cordless with the on and off switch light indicator turning green, letting you know it's ready. For more information on this product and how to get your Bleed's cordless hot glue gun, scan the QR code.
So let's talk about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and the kind of impact that the show had on the kids of the 90s, and particularly Jason David Frank's character, Tommy Oliver, because I want to point out how important that character had become to the show and what it meant for, the 90s kids generation, okay? So, as I said, Frank played Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger, then later the White Ranger. Alongside the Green Ranger was Kimberly, the Pink Ranger, and she was played by Amy Jo Johnston. The Blue Ranger, Billy, played by David Yost. The Red Ranger and the leader, Jason, was played by Austin St. John. Trini, the Yellow Ranger, played by Twy Train, and Zach, the Black Ranger, played by Walter Emmanuel. Now, the backdrop to this is a fictional city called Angel Grove, California, and the show centered around teens with extraordinary talents such as gymnastic, mixed martial arts, and things of this nature. And these teens were picked to protect the world from the evil magic of Rita Repulsa, the villain, who was captured. And I don't know how she got onto the moon, but she was on the moon in this tube. And unknowingly, she was let out and released to bestow evil on all the world, okay? Now, Tommy Oliver was introduced in season 1 as a bad guy. He was the protagonist created by Rita Repulsa to destroy the Power Rangers. And he came very close to doing this, you guys. He did. But like with all bad guys, he came to his senses only to see the error of his ways and went from bad to good. Because of this, the Green Ranger, I believe, was supposed to be just not a main character, but he became so popular with the kids that they, the writers and the producers of the show left with a dilemma. The character, the Green Ranger, faced an uncertain future because he lost all his powers. And the little powers that he had, I shouldn't say lost all, but he lost some, was sustained by Zordon. And Zordon is this big white face that floats in like a space, and he's like the father-like character to these kids, and he watches over them, and he gives them advice and guides them and stuff and teaches them lessons. So eventually the Green Ranger's powers were lost, and that Green Ranger ceased to exist. But again, due to the popularity of Tommy, the writers brought back as the White Rangers, and ever since then, Jason David Frank reprised the role of Tommy Oliver in pretty much all the adaptations of the Power Rangers saga. Now, on the sidebar, it's a lot. The show, like I said, was incredible because, number one, it geared to little kids from, like, I would say 2 to 7, and big kids like me, like myself. And I remember watching it with my nephew because he was really into it. And again, his favorite character was the Green, now White Ranger, and he loved Tommy. And he, enjoyed the show. And I'm going to say why the kids enjoyed the show. Oh, Diamond is so nosy, and she won't let me get through this. Can we get through this without you chomping on whatever you're chomping on? Anyway, as I was saying, the reason why this show was so popular is because of 3 aspects. Number one, the actors that play these characters had to be very physical, meaning that they have to be very knowledgeable in gymnastic and mixed martial arts, because the role is so demanding. And sometimes they do a lot of the close-up and the pickup scenes and stuff. They actually had to do those action sequences. Okay, so that's number one. So you got these kids fighting, okay, and moving around, jumping around, and jumping in frame, flipping into a frame, back flipping, and doing all these acrobatic, gymnastic, martial arts type moves. So that's number one. Number two, the colors that these producers and writers picked for these Rangers: bright pink, bright yellow, bright red, even the black stood out. And it's like, when you have kids at a young age, to keep their attention, you need movement and you need bright colors. And number three, the soundtrack. And I'm like, oh my God, the music was the most crummiest music I have ever heard. It was as if someone went and bought a $25 banged up guitar at a pawn shop and started blowing out these horrific riffs. I'm like, oh my God. So that's what attracted the kids to this show. Now, what attracted the adults to the show is these are good looking kids. For me, Tommy was like the most handsomest guy I have ever seen. And I was like, that guy is too cute to be a teenager, but whatever. And it brought nostalgia to the parents because a lot of the scenes reminded you of Voltron, with the 5 lions, at the original Voltron. And it also reminded you of Giant Robot, which is Johnny Sokol and his flying robot. You remember with the kid in the 60s. And he talks into the watch to control this robot. So that's the appeal of this show. Now, Jason's character was the most popular one out of the whole show because, it's a testament to Jason himself. He's the face of Tommy, and you see him go from bad to good, and from good to being in a leadership role, because eventually he did take over the leadership of these group of teens, okay? And what's appealing about Jason's character, Tommy, is that he was a quiet guy, but he listens to everybody. He was very diplomatic, and it's something that the kids related to, and even the parents related to the character. So that's what the appeal about Tommy Oliver, aka Jason David Frank, was. So as this story broke, a lot of people on social media was giving their condolences, but one in particular that stood out for me was Walter Emanuel, who played the Black Ranger, Zach. And he says this, quote, "Rest in peace, Jason David Frank. My heart is sad to have lost another member of the Power Ranger family," unquote. So what Walter was referring to was the untimely passing of Twi Train. I'm sorry if I'm butchering her name. Don't mean to do that. Played Trina, the Yellow Ranger, and she died in a tragic auto accident September 3rd, 2001. She was 27. And the accident took place when she was a bridesmaid for a friend, and they were coming back from San Jose, and the other bridesmaid who was driving the car lost control, spun out, hit, and gone off and hit another rock cliff, and the bride was thrown out of the car. She survived, but she's quadriplegic. And the driver of the car, the other bridesmaid, she survived too, but it doesn't say how bad what injuries she sustained. And Train sustained internal injuries, and unfortunately on the way to the hospital she passed away. And like I said, she was 27, and her remains was cremated and is either scattered or interred at Rose Hill Cemetery in Whittier, California. Now, if you want to know more details about it and take kind of like a tour of the graveyard, I'm going to put a link to Hollywood Graveyards and Arthur Dark, who does an amazing work touring all these amazing cemeteries and giving you stories of the people who passed on, and that's their final resting place. So I'll leave a link to that episode that talks about Train and into detail. So Amy Jo Johnston, the Yellow Ranger, the Pink Ranger, and David Yost, the Blue Ranger, was the only two cast members that went to the funeral. Walter, the Black Ranger, wasn't able to make it, but he sends condolences. And Jason David Frank wasn't able to attend due to his brother's death. Now, here's a little bit about Jason David Frank's personal life. He was a Christian, and after the death of his brother, he started attending church more and more. He continued with his mixed martial arts competitions, competing in various stages and winning various titles. He was married twice. He married his first wife in 1994, and they have 3 children together. They divorced, and then he married his second wife in 2003, and he had 1 child. Now, again, according to TMZ, Frank's second wife filed for a divorce this year, stating that Frank cheated on her as a part of the split up. She also stated that their marriage isn't working because of the constant conflict, the fighting that's between them, and that she just couldn't live with Jason due to his cruelty towards her. She is asking the court to award her the bulk of their assets. That includes the house in Texas and a car. Now, it's not clear if she asked for custody or full custody of their child, and it's not clear if the home that they share is the place where Jason took his life, or if he was living somewhere else and took his life. It's not clear on that. Now, the castmates. Fellow castmate Austin St. John, who played Jason the Red Ranger, is having his own issues with the law. So according to TMZ, Austin St. James, Texas home was just recently raided by FBI agents, pulling the former actor out in handcuffs. St. John is one of 18 people indicted on COVID fraud. Okay. Allegedly, St. John got up to 16 PPE loans totaling a little bit over $3 million, which was used for personal uses. If convicted, Austin can face up to 20 years in jail. So what that means is he took PPE money that was supposed to go for small businesses and help support small businesses during the COVID, and used it for personal use. Okay, so kind of like what Brett Favre did. Took all this money and put a pool in the back of his backyard, allegedly. So that's unfortunate. That's really, that's unfortunate. What else can you say? I'm speechless. Honestly, guys, I'm speechless by this story, and that I had to stop my original story to bring this to you because it's newsworthy. So if you're wondering why you couldn't get a PPE loan for your small business, you have Austin St. John's to thank for that. Okay? Because of people like him that's frauding the system, people like you and me can't get a loan. We have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that we are who we are, and the money is going for the businesses that we created to help sustain us. He can get 16 loans, which I don't know how anyone can do that, allegedly, but he did it. And he's the reason why this whole system is messed up, because of the fraud. Thank you, Austin. My heart goes out to Jason David Frank's family, his children, his loved ones, and those left behind. It's very hard to get answers as to why someone would want to take their own life. We would never know the truth. I don't think we'll ever get the truth out of that. And no other details had come out via TMZ or any other news outlet other than